You know what we say around here. Hey, Guy. I'm Guy. Welcome. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Was just listening to the 49ers Plus Minus podcast with Tim Kawakami and Matt Barrows, and heard Matt Barrows say this about Nick Sorensen, who is one of the internal candidates for the Niners' next defensive coordinator.
He's done a little bit of everything with the 49ers. A couple of years ago, Johnny Holland was dealing with multiple myeloma. It was Nick Sorensen who came in and coached the linebackers there. He's coaching nickel backs this past season. He's coached defensive backs in the past. He played safety in the NFL. He played cornerback in the NFL. He was the Jaguars' special teams coordinator for one season. He actually had to fill in for Brian Schneider, who left abruptly in Jacksonville. He runs their, what they call the ball meeting, which is they meet once a week on Thursdays to talk about takeaways. He's the guy that runs that. So I think he's got sort of a broad appeal. He's got a good personality. People like him. Is he perfect? Is he a linebackers guy? Has he been coaching in the system for 10 years? No. But I think the 49ers feel like he's sharp enough, having sort of a global vision. I mean, he's been in so many different spots in this defense that he knows how it works.
Very interesting quote. They talked a lot about Jeff Ulbrich as the conversation went on. That was Kawakami's guess last week, and I think it was a really good guess. He and Barrows aren't just taking stabs in the dark here. Barrows also thought there was some smoke there, but the Niners hadn't officially, he said, ever requested a conversation with Ulbrich. That might be Kyle Shanahan calls Saleh and says, "Hey man, I want Ulbrich." And Saleh's like, "Hell no, dude." And that's the end of it. Could be, but this has gone on and on and on and on and on. But listening to Barrows talk there, my impression is that maybe Sorensen is their top choice if it's not Ulbrich. That Ulbrich's their number one choice. You do a few interviews. You talk to Brandon Staley, see if you can figure anything out on him. Maybe he gives you a little insight on Sean McVay. And even though you know him pretty well, and then and then you move on and you go, well, if this guy blows us away, we should at least talk to him. It's an agent favor. It makes him look good that Shanahan wanted to talk to him, whatever. It could be that simple. Sometimes it's that simple. And that Sorensen, when you listen to everything Barrows said, I think more fits the bill of the guys that have had success for the 49ers. I mean, it's only 3. This will be number 4. But, so you can't, it's too few people to have a pattern. But there's a clear line here. The 2 internal guys, or I guess Saleh was just the first guy, but these are guys that were not about to become head coaches. And DeMeco was well known because he was DeMeco Ryans, the football player. But I don't think anybody had DeMeco when the Niners made him the DC. He was not on a bunch of lists about to become a head coach, except for the reason that he was about to be the 49ers defensive coordinator, and the last one had become a head coach. So then you go big name, experienced head coach. Although, again, I think the thing that needs to be mentioned with Wilks, in hindsight, he was not an experienced defensive coordinator. He had not coordinated a lot of defenses, but he was an experienced leader, solid dude. I like the hire. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan fired him because he knew, I got this other guy lined up. I think he fired him because it was clear this wasn't working. We got to pivot. So what you hear from Barrows in that clip, and they talk a lot more about it on the pod, so you can go listen to it. But what you hear from Barrows in that clip is if the Niners hire Nick Sorensen, they're basically saying, you know what, let's just do what we did the first 2 times. Let's bank on a smart guy, and let's figure this thing out together with him. We had confidence in Saleh, the coach, but we believed in the guy. We definitely believed in DeMeco, the guy. He'd coached around us. We'd coached around Sorensen. As I said the other day, when it comes to Shanahan, he should have a really good feel for defensive coordinator hires based on who he goes up against, guys that give him trouble, guys that impress him. Sorensen leads the meeting on takeaways. That's a key thing for a defensive coach. He's done special teams before. He's coached linebackers before. So it seems like a pretty flexible guy. I mean, you would say, even though he's a career, from a playing standpoint, secondary player, and now mostly a secondary coach, he seems like he's positionless, like he's a positionless coach, which of course is not totally true. But he's got enough of a sense for linebackers that I think you would think would make Fred Warner's got an experience with him. Fred Warner can tell Kyle, yes, I worked with him. It was good. It was not good. And that's got to go a long way. So anyway, there's the latest on the coaching search. Now, remember a Mayoka report earlier in the week, Kyle said should be wrapped up by the end of the week. Barrows wondered if that would be the case, but you can go listen to more of it there. But my takeaway, Ulbrich's their first shot. It's going to be hard to get Ulbrich. Ulbrich's one of these guys, if you can get him, it's less attractive. Like the fact that the Jets won't let him go, you're like, yeah, Jets like him. If the Jets let him go, maybe they really like him. Maybe that's what that would mean. They just really love him. They don't want him to go, but this is what he wants. You're not going to hold a guy back. Maybe get a little compensation. And then if it's not him, then it's Sorensen. And I think at this point, you'd have to feel, given the track record of unproven coordinators that Kyle has hired, the first two, I'd have to feel okay about it because he would have the stamp of approval from Fred Warner, who, him and Bosa were the first ones to kind of indicate, outside of Kyle saying it publicly after the Vikings game, that things were not going smooth. That things were not exactly the way they want them. And this guy would know how they want them. Now, you got to be careful not to just give the players what they want. That's not a good solution either. They got to be coached. But, if there are players you're going to believe understand what should be happening on the field, it's Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, and they'll have good insights on this guy.